I need to. Hi, everybody. Live this afternoon with my lovely guest, Pretty Helen, who is a previous Audience Attraction alumni. And I'm just checking that we are live. There we are. Oh, there we go.
Are we live? Dawn, are you not going to wave to everyone like you did yesterday? Hi, everyone.
Hello, my darlings. Hello, my pretties. So, my beautiful Helen, people are watching. Please do let us know if you're watching. We will put your comments up on the screen. But do you want to tell people who you are and what you do?
It's in that nutshell again, isn't it? Who am I? What do I do? Okay. Hi, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Helen, and I'm an emotional empowerment coach and therapist. And I work with, 4 areas. I work with adults who are wanting and needing to shift from emotional distress to emotional liberation and being in charge and in control of their lives with courage and confidence, and not being defined by all that emotional distress that they've been holding on to. So that's like anxiety, overwhelm, grief, loss, trauma, abuse. And I work with children as well. So that's another pillar of my business. So I work with children directly. And I have now said that it's okay to work with some children online. I hadn't up until recently, but I have been doing that. So it seems to be working. So I work with children and I help them with their emotional struggles. And the third pillar of my business is that I work with parents to help connect them to the emotional needs of their children through emotional connection and attachment. And so I work with parents internationally to do that. All of my business is international, actually. I'm helping them do that. So I work with foster carers and adopted parents as well. And so that leads on to the last pillar of my business, which is I train foster carers and supervising social workers in a particular psychotherapeutic approach to responding to the emotional needs of children who have been traumatized and abused. So there we go. That's my business. That's me. That's what I do.
Basically, not a lot.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit of stuff. A little bit of stuff I do.
you know, part-timer when you feel like it. No, but seriously, your niche is it's one of those really important elements. You are actually like a freelancer. You are a free agent, but at the same time, what you do is incredibly important, and it does have a professional conduct associated with it. It is a professional level experience that people get from you. You know that it's not just like Eldonio fanning around on Facebook, right? And it's something really important, but it's also a specialized niche.
Yeah, and it's been because I worked. I didn't start working privately for myself until 10 years ago, but I've been doing this for 22 years now. So, and each of those elements I've been doing for 20 years, and I used to do them for the NHS, and was defined by the NHS, and then thought, oh, I don't know whether Dawn's gone. It was nearly Helen's show. Are you still there, Dawn? Whoa, I can't do this on my own.
It went a bit funny, and then you froze, and then I went, and then I came back, and then you were okay again. It was like StreamYard went, let's just switch it off and switch it back on again.
Yeah, see if that works. So I don't know actually where anybody heard up to, but I was just saying that because I used to do it I used to kind of be defined by the NHS, and when that element of what I worked in became a community interest company. So I was kind of, defined by all those policies, etc. But then, I left, it must be 12 years ago now, I left the UK to move to Greece and started to work privately. Yeah, so, really kind of one of the things, as a therapist, and, I define myself as an emotional empowerment coach, because actually that reaches more people as well. It's kind of important for people to feel that there's an engagement in that process as well, and that they understand what it is, and actually, I did wonder, emotional empowerment coach, is anybody going to get it? And actually lots of people love it, so I kind of went, okay, I'll keep it as that, because it is about emotional empowerment. It is about saying, you know what, you can be in control and in charge of your emotions, even when there's a shitstorm going on around you, excuse my language, but even when, and it doesn't matter what that storm is, it doesn't need to define who you are. So
yeah,
that's why I went on my own. That's why I was like, I'm going it alone.
I love it. I love it. And the other thing is that I always feel about your work is that it's an element of skill that us crazy humans don't actually ever learn. Regulating our emotions and having a skill set, a toolbox about how we can do that, and how we can make ourselves feel better, and how we can handle some of the tougher times in our lives. It's like you get taught algebra, for instance, but then when do you use it? And then these important skills that actually relate to us as human beings are just completely missing from our childhood. We don't get those coping mechanisms. So I guess it's a really important area, of course, for the people who are struggling with actual trauma and all of those sensitive themes that you obviously are involved in, but also just in general, everyone could do with an emotional empowerment coach.
Yeah, and it's why a pillar of my business is that parent work. It's that working with parents to help that emotional connection, because the foundation of emotional resilience in children, the foundational kind of core of that, is the parents. So how do you do that as parents? No, you don't. Nobody's teaching you to do it. There's handbooks on all sorts of stuff, but who's helping you with that emotional connection that then helps children to regulate their emotions when they're a little bit all over the place. So because I used to work in child and adolescent mental health as well, and I used to work with young children. So I used to work I started out working in an adolescent unit for an adolescent inpatient unit, and then was headhunted to go and work in a children's unit for 5 to 13-year-olds who were struggling with complex mental health issues. Now, you wouldn't expect that of a 5-year-old, but they are there. And actually, that's where my passion came about, of actually helping the parents first, because, you're there with them every day. You're there, responding and listening. And how do you hear a child when they're not saying something? And that's what I help parents do. So yeah, it's a particular skill.
It's a real niche skill, and one that we've had a lot of fun over our time together, and really cultivating the right message for you to be able to share that publicly on social media, and also support that with your website and things as well.
Yeah, it's certainly been tricky, and I think one of the first things I learned, one of the biggest lessons I learned straight out because up until 2 years ago, I didn't have a website. A lot of my work actually came word of mouth, and probably 90% of my work at that point was word of mouth. And so, when I designed the website, I kind of, I wrote it, and I was really excited, and then sent it out, and I was like, it was tumbleweed. And I was like, oh, what's wrong? And so I think, after doing Passion for Passive, as it was then, and really started to kind of look at that, and then got involved with you, Dawny, kind of started to rethink and kind of look at what I was writing. And I was certainly, like I've said before, I was kind of certainly writing not for anybody who needed it. It was like I was writing professional to professional. And so, that was really kind of when I had to start thinking about changing my language and really understanding what my audience needed to hear from me and what they needed to know in order to make a decision to work with me. And that was the biggest lesson, because if you'd have read my website 2 years ago, it's like reading a book. It's like people would have found it really. It was like reading a book if you're also trained in everything that I'm trained in. So it was like how not to gain an audience. Right. It was like just write. Don't write to them. Write to somebody else. And that's what I was doing. I was writing to other people, because most of my career in the kind of the NHS aspect was professional to professional. I was often teaching other professionals. I still do. I mentor. I provide consultations. So I'm often speaking to other professionals, and I think that's where I got it wrong in the first instance. Was I wrote everything as though I was talking to another professional and not to the person who's struggling in the room, doesn't know how to get their words out, doesn't even know what to say, doesn't even know what they're thinking. And there's me with all these big words, lovely big words that I know about, but my task is to give those words their meaning for other people, but in a way that is relational to what they're experiencing, so that at the end of working with me, they have a toolkit by which they can go off and they feel that they have got the skills and knowledge to be able to look after their emotional health.
Yeah, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it is. But biggest lesson was stop not talking to your audience.
Yeah, and you know what? I think when we think about copy and we think about how we're going to write something in terms of when we're communicating on social, it's very easy to fall back into that comfort zone of understanding. And that's why it's really important that we actually do have the skills and the strategy to reach out to the people we're trying to attract, rather than just speaking or just posting for the sake of posting. Now, I mean, tell us a little bit about your relationship with social media, how you feel about social media, and where you're at with it.
Social media is like one of my brothers. I have a love-hate relationship with him, and because we're stubborn, the two of us. So I often see it as that kind of relationship. So I do. I mean, I do struggle with social media in a lot of ways, and that's partly because I am stubborn. And I kind of, I start to think, social media is dictating what I'm doing. And I have to get out of that mindset, because I have to think about it's actually just a tool, it's a free tool that I'm using to get my word across, It's not there to try and bite me on the arse, it's there to help, and I need to utilize it in that way. Yeah. So, that's my mindset about it. So I need to shift that. So, I almost have to have that conversation with myself every morning. It's like, just be nice to each other. It's fine. You're both stubborn, but it's okay.
Nicely.
And, I think, certainly, one of the things that I've kind of noticed is I've become more in love with Instagram. Facebook, I've always, to be honest, I've always struggled with Facebook. I was glad when I did audience attraction last year and kind of got myself thinking more about Instagram, because it does feel a bit more fluid, and it feels a bit more engaging actually than Facebook for me. Yeah. I keep Facebook there because I have a Facebook group, and actually a couple of clients have come from Facebook, so I can't complain. But, there is something a little bit, I don't know, sticky for me about Facebook at the moment. So, I am having to rethink all of that. But social media and I, we get on sometimes. When I've had a gin, we get on.
And I mean, you get on better since audience attraction.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, not the gin. Audience attraction. sorry. Put the gin aside, Helen. You see, can't you tell I'm back drinking again? There you go. certainly audience attraction. I mean, definitely from the point that I was, January, February last year, where I just kind of felt really stark. And I remember doing a challenge, and I thought, I like her. I like her a lot. I like the way she speaks. I like the way her philosophy, her mission, and I thought, right, okay, your course came up, and at the time, I don't know why I didn't do the VIP. I don't know why I didn't do audience attraction and the content creation. I can't remember why, but there's usually a good reason. It might be my time. I was thinking time. And so I did the audience attraction, but not the content creation side as it was. And from that, kind of started to understand, really, because I was also at a pivotal stage of clearly defining those 4 pillars, clearly trying to separate them all out. Yeah. And that's what the course enabled me to do, was really kind of step back, gain a perspective of my business and my audience, my clients, and how to speak to each of them. I haven't quite got it right yet with the parents. So that's another reason why I signed up this year again for the VIP, because I feel like I'm in another evolving process. So, yeah. And audience attraction, everything that's described about, and everything that I experienced last year and everything that's been added, I kind of feel that, actually, yeah, it's almost like it's going to become my yearly top up.
I don't mind that. You can come on every year for me. I mean, to have you. I was over the moon when you said that you were coming on again, and I know we've had a lot of previous alumni jump back on this year, because the thing with social media is it is ever changing. It's it's an evolution, and Zuckerberg went on a bit of a mad spree last year and just dropped feature after feature after feature, both on Instagram and Facebook alike, as well as having an entire complete update on the layout, which was something that it was always going to happen. But we haven't had a Facebook layout change like that for a number of years. So it has made a massive difference compared to what we did last year and what we're doing this year. Yeah. It's like, and I think I said this last time, which is what's so hilarious, is because I think when I described it this time last year, I said that it was like content creation mastery, which is what it was previously known as, content creation mastery and audience attraction, which were 2 separate courses put together. That was like a hybrid, and it was on steroids because it was both things together, and it was all singing, all dancing, which it was, and it was wonderful. But then again, we've gone and done that again this year. This time, they're not just coinciding; they've actually merged completely into one. And we've bolted on a whole host of other things. I mean, I know one of the main things that a lot of people are really excited to learn about, and I'm very excited to teach this year, is the new monetization features that are available on Facebook pages and with paid events and groups.
And I think that's that's the other part of the reason why I'm joining is I think I'm not utilizing Facebook well enough, because I'm not understanding all of the elements that can be used on a Facebook page and in my group. Need to have a separate conversation about my group, because I've kind of started to fall out of love with it. But it happens. But anyway, definitely separate conversation. But I don't think that I'm utilizing all of the things that I can do on Facebook. So I need to kind of learn to love it again, and I think that's because it is such a good tool still. It's not. I do feel as though engagement has dropped in it for me, but when I fall out with something, I'll ignore it for a while, and then I'll go back in, and then I go, why is nobody following me? Well, it's like, because I haven't spoken to them for ages, Helen. God damn it, yeah. Good point. Right, well made. So I do need to, the other reason why I've joined is because I need to create those systems around myself, because I am getting busier and busier, and there needs to be a system that supports me, and that has to be my understanding of how I can use all of the social media elements to my advantage, and not feel like they're constantly battling me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I think one of the interesting things that I've always loved about this course is that it's not just about Facebook. Although we do primarily talk about Facebook and Instagram, it's actually, the theory transcends over all social media and visibility practices that you can apply to your business, which I've always loved, because I think it's really difficult when you go and you do a course and you learn this piece, and then you go and do another course and you learn this piece, and then you go to do another course and you learn this piece, and it just feels like you're constantly, by the time you've done all of the courses and all of the things, you're practically a business expert, right? Like, you might as well be consulting rather than doing what it is that you got into this to do and that you're passionate about, because you know how to do all of these things. But what I love about this one is it gives you the overriding tools that you need for all of it. So you don't actually need to go and have that bolt on for this and that bolt on for that. You can do if you like it and you want more, but you don't have to. And it gives you enough insight so that even if you're only planning to run your own marketing, your own Facebook groups, your own Facebook pages and Instagram, even if you're only managing to do that, or you're only wanting to do that for the first year or two, then when you do outsource it and you hire somebody to do it for you, you absolutely know who and what you're hiring, because you have that knowledge, you have that understanding. Yeah. And that,
sorry, go on. No, I was just going to say, it's a bit like how I think of how I work with people individually, that, there is a core, I have a structure, but the detail is malleable, and it's malleable to what they need, but there's a core component to it, and that runs right the way through it, like the words on a stick of rock, and that's self-compassion. And so, because the cornerstone of self-acceptance is self-compassion. You can't have self-acceptance without self-compassion. So, absolutely through the core of everything that I do is building people's self-compassion. But there are other elements, emotional intelligence and cognitive behavioral therapy and looking at cognitive distortions and all those kind of things that I start to add in to that program of support. So by the end of 12 sessions with me, people can go off with that toolkit and say, that's it, I've got it, So that when they start to but what they have, even though they battle it, and I had a client say to me last week that she was really angry with me for making her think about self-compassion. And I was like, wow. But it was a really good conversation to have. But, I've created something with all of those elements so that by the end of those 12 weeks, people feel skilled. And that's exactly the same as your training. You have to bring in all those elements so at the end of it, we can feel skilled enough to say, yeah, we can make the right decisions and the right choices as we move forward in our strategy and in our businesses and the conversations that we then have with other people about what we want them to do for us.
Yes.
And what we pay them for. So that otherwise you're handing over stuff without knowing anything about what they're going to do.
Yes. And one of the main core reasons why Audience Attraction was ever born, the first ever run of Audience Attraction that was done almost like a boot camp, actually, was done with some business owners that I knew that had come to me for social media management. We were a tiny, tiny, tiny little fish, tiny little agency then, right? And they'd come to us with accounts that had been mangled.
Right.
And they wanted us to take on the management of these accounts and to perform. And there was no possible way that we could give them the results that they wanted or that they deserved with the accounts the way they'd been previously run. So I ended up doing this little boot camp of all of these business owners. I think there was literally 4 people, and it was just a case of trying to give them over a number of weeks a bit of information about what had gone wrong, what what had been done incorrectly and what needed to occur for them to get back up and running, which for all 4 of them was having to start again. Because there is nothing worse than bad management in social media land. It's chronic.
And it's also chronic where, you know, in NHS land, I remember having to go in and redesign services, and I was commissioned to go in and redesign services and manage services through kind of deconstructing them and redesigning them. And so, you know, after a period of bad management, so I was always the person going in and doing that. So I was kind of having to undo bad management.
Yeah. And this is the thing, right? So like we kind of realised that actually people need to know this. We had incorrectly assumed that small business owners did not want to get this involved. They wanted to outsource it. They wanted somebody else to handle it. Why would they want to spend the time learning it when they could pay somebody to just take it off their hands? And that was an incorrect assumption, which obviously now feels ridiculous to even speak out loud, because of course not. People, especially heart-centered businesses, people who possibly have a team of 5 or less, you know, those people who are running their own businesses almost solely, do want to know. They need to know, because it is the lower volume, higher quantity way of digital marketing. It's not getting 25,000 people you know, just so that some mud sticks. It's actually knowing your people and attracting the right qualified leads, which is something that, I mean, for somebody who had done digital marketing to the degree I have, it was quite like a moment of realization that actually, although all of those skills are transferable, of course, and they have been and they've proven to be, it still was a completely different way of working. But I think a really beautiful change in the way people work. It was good.
It is. I mean, you know, as somebody who, you know, a year ago, well, 13 months ago, you know, I had no idea of what I was needing to look at, you know, how I was needing to think about Facebook and Instagram. I was going to go on LinkedIn. I did have a Twitter account. I had no idea what I was doing, so I actually deactivated that. I was like, no, I speak too much. Twitter's not the thing for me, because I need more words than it can allow me. It's like, ever sit and have a glass of wine with me, I'll never stop and I'll never finish a subject. But it's true. But, you know, sitting, you know, and I remember kind of, you know, it was a year ago, you know, just sitting and thinking, I need to know more, you know, I need to know what it is that I'm kind of, what I need to do. It's not just a website. It's not just, you know, people aren't going to come and find me just by Googling my name. You know, they do now, by the way. But, you know, yay for SEO on website. But, you know, all of those things. I mean, I sit and talk to my husband now, and I was talking to my web designer the other day, and my husband was in the background. And we were, you know, rattling off all this stuff, and I was like, right, you know, talking about membership, talking about this, that, and the other, audience, doing videos for my website and things like that. And I came off that call, and my husband went, I had no idea what you were talking about, but it sounded impressive. He said, how have you learned all this? And I said, because I've committed and said I need to learn it, because I can't hand it over to people, because it's my business. It's, you know, and the way I speak to my clients, that needs to come across. So I can't hand it over to other people to do all, and I not know what's happening in my business, and I not know, you know, any of the detail of it. It's important, you know. And so, you know, a year ago, before I did your course, you know, even though I'd done Passion for Passive, I still didn't know. I still, you know, and I hadn't, at that time, I hadn't completed Passion for Passive either, because my dad had died. So, you know, it was like, oh, you know, I need to gain some traction. I need to understand. I'm not in a world of the 1940s, where you can just hand out a business card, and I need to know how my business works, not just what I am in it, but actually all the elements to it of how it works and how I show up for it. And that's what audience attraction did for me last year. It made me show up for my business. And okay, I'm not great at going live yet. And I did actually go live on my business page, on my Facebook page the other day, and admitted to the fact that I am actually quite shy. And that does come from the Instagram post that I told everybody about, where I was a dog in the king and I. And my mum and dad made me go on the stage and then made me sing and dance and do all this stuff, which was totally against what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to go swimming, I wanted to play badminton. I loved all of that. But my mum and dad were like, oh no, we're all into theatre. Everybody on the stage, And it was it was like this absolutely terrifying, anxiety provoking. And I was not a great dancer, I'm going to be honest. I can sing, but I wasn't a great dancer. So all of that anxiety was just flood in. You asked me to go live on my page. What are people thinking? Well, actually, does it matter what they think of how I look, how I sound? If they're not going to buy from me, no. So, my commitment to myself actually in doing this training is also to say, I need to get myself out there more, and speak more, because I had somebody in my group, my absolute ideal client, contact me for one-to-one work the other day, and she said, I've been following you for a while. I love your lives. I love what you say. I love the way you sound. And I knew when I was listening to you, and she said, and I asked my daughter to come in the group to watch you so that she could kind of back me up on what I was thinking. And so she started to work with me, and that's a high ticket client. So,
it works.
It works if you put the effort in. I mean, obviously it's been a difficult year for me, but I've still tried to go live as much as I possibly can, and I haven't been consistent. And again, that's why I've joined the course again, because I need that. I need to get myself back in that rhythm.
But you've shown up amazingly on Instagram as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did a whole kind of rebrand, and looked at all my, because I love pink, can't help it. I love pink, and anybody goes on my Instagram, it does look like a vomit of pink. I do know that, but I love it, and. So I did a whole rebrand. I mean, I did look at purple. I tried that, and aesthetically it wasn't pleasing enough. So I then redid it, and I looked at kind of all the different kind of branding mood boards that I have, and looked at kind of what resonated with me, and that's when I went for the pink, and I looked at the font and changed the font, and it is more me. It is the way that I speak, and I don't wear pink, but I have accents of pink all around this house, and my husband goes mad. But but it just speaks to me. It's like my headphones are pink. My what's it called? It used to be not an iPlayer. What's it called? An MP3 player thing. It's got all my music on. So that's pink. So, but I really had to look at all of that this year and kind of think about, how did I want to come across? And even though it's all pink, men have contacted me for support too. And interestingly, and I don't think it's anything to do with the pink, so I'm not stereotyping or anything here, but much more people from the LGBTQ+ community that are contacting me for support now. And really, I'm helping one lovely guy actually in Germany at the moment who is struggling with confidence and self-esteem around his sexuality, but is also now wanting to apply for surrogacy so that he can be a dad, and just helping him with all those kind of emotions that are coming up for him about that. And I was nearly crying last week on the session with him. I was like, oh my God.
It's such important work what you do though, Helen.
It does feel amazing, I have to say. I get a joy from it. I really do. it's hard work. There's no doubt about that. But, and I come away like this morning. We had a chat before we came on live. It's been a bit of a morning. But, even through all of that, there's still so much that I get from it. And I don't think I'll ever just have a coffee shop, which was my plan when I was 15. To just have a coffee shop and sell books. That was a plan.
It's a solid plan. I love it. But
yeah. Well, I've got a 20-year plan, and which my husband was very, very impressed with. That I now have a 20-year strategy. I know, who knew I would do that? But it is. What I'm saying is, you start getting the right message. You start presenting yourself in the way that you actually are, your truth and your integrity and your vibrancy and your humor and everything else, and you speak in the right way, and you don't use other people's voices, you don't use other people's words, you use your own. Then you get your message across, and then the people will say, that's who I want to work with.
Yes.
I do turn people away, because I'm not that. I realize after the discovery call, I'm not the right fit for them. I would never take their money and say, yeah, I can help you. Yeah. I always say to them, I don't think I'm the right person for you, and these are the reasons why. Let's have a think about where you might get that support from. So, I think you have to be honest. You have to speak your own truth, and you have to be honest and show integrity around that. And if you've got that running through your social media, then people will recognize that.
Yeah. And that is the kind of core feature about being able to attract the right people and not just go for general public hordes of people. And I think one of the most beautiful parts of supporting people with that side of things is when they start to gain clients from their accounts, because people always come to me like, that is a massive surprise. Like, that's the goal, right? That's what we're aiming for. But after months and months and months of having social media and not getting so much as a nibble on anything, when people start to actually contact you through those mediums and turn into bona fide ideal clients that pay what you want to charge, and you're not worried about your pricing structure, you're not trying to bargain bin your offers and services, and actually things start moving. I always love that message, that first message that I get that says like, oh, I've got a client, or I've got a discovery call, or somebody from Facebook. And it fills me with joy, because almost like we've been conditioned that it's so hard that that will never happen.
I know that, I haven't had a paid client from Instagram yet, but recently, and I think it was after I changed everything and started to kind of, well, the one thing I don't do is I don't scroll and look at other people like me and see what they're doing, because I think that's for me, that's a dangerous route to go down, because you then end up in comparisonitis and you think, well, I'm not doing that, and and I just think, do what you do what you've always done, and just anyway. But I had a lady contact me from America, and I work with a lot of clients in America, so it was not unusual, but it was unusual to come via Instagram. And she asked for the call, and she reached out, and she was in quite a state. I mean, she was suicidal. She had been taking drugs, and so I knew that she wasn't my ideal client. But I helped her find where she could get that from. And I think, that then led to her sharing, my page with other people that she knows, and, then them kind of commenting, and, it leads, you show that you're not, even if they're not your ideal client. And with me, I would never say to someone, oh, you're suicidal. No, you're not for me. I do work with suicidal clients, but hers was slightly different, and she needed somebody there. And I would never say, oh no, you're not for me, right, try someone else. What actually is there around you? And I think I hope that's what comes across in the way that I write, is that I just want to help. I just want to help people, and even if I'm not the right person, I'll still try and link them in with the person that is. because it's their emotional and mental health that we're talking about. And that's where sometimes I kind of struggle with social media because of that ethical issue for me about making sure that my page isn't a self-help page, that it's, it is very much, I do provide tips, I do provide, prompts and things like that. But I hope I know actually there's a core thread through it in each of my posts, which is, if you need direct one-to-one support, then you need to contact me. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
And, they don't just, I don't want people thinking, well, that post, if I follow all of that, then I'm going to feel better again. No, it's helpful, but it's not going to take away what you've experienced and how you need to move forward from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, that's where, I've had to do a lot of thinking about that this year around that ethical issue. From a therapist point of view, we are conditioned, if you like, to be careful around those kind of things. It is part of our registration and our professional ethics and things like that. So
yeah,
we do have to be a bit careful.
And your strategy is a bespoke one, isn't it? We couldn't use a blanket swipe file for you because there are so many sensitive themes. There are so many ways that we could possibly attempt to educate, and in fact do more harm than good. That this is a real good example of how audience attraction doesn't give you that bog standard kind of beige background. We're not giving swipe files, we're not giving awareness days, we're actually giving you the tools so you can build what works for you within your niche, because it would be wrong to try and apply certain measures to every single area, every single niche. It doesn't work that way.
No. And that was I think where my initial struggle was when I first kind of introduced myself to social media from a business perspective. I'd always used it. I'd always used Facebook personally and Instagram personally. I haven't looked at my personal Instagram page for months, if not probably years. And my Facebook page, I share the occasional update on when the vaccine might be happening in France. But who knows? But I always make sure that I don't filter my business stuff into my personal page, because my friends and family aren't my ideal client. And I don't necessarily want them following me on my business page. It's nice and supportive, but hey. But up until a year ago, when the social media had been much more personal for me. So then to try and think about it in a business way that fits with all those pillars of my business, the way that I think, the way that I work with people, my relationship with people and how I connect with them, getting that message across. I'm so glad for audience attraction last year, because I don't know that I would be in the position that I am now if I hadn't have done it last year.
Yeah.
And using, the training again this year, and how it's grown to help me grow more. That's how I see it. I'm kind of on this journey with audience attraction. I'm on this journey with audience attraction. It's become part of my strategy, Dawn. That's what it's become. It's become a core element of my strategy is to remain with audience attraction, because the one thing that we know is that social media will constantly be changing, and we have to evolve with it. And if we don't, then we're still going to be speaking and thinking and talking in the same way on it that doesn't meet with how we actually want people to hear us.
Yeah, agree.
That's
agree.
why
So what was your favourite part about the course then?
See, I knew you were going to say this, and I was going to do that cop-out thing again and say everything. I was sitting last night about 10 o'clock when I finished last night, and I was thinking, I know she's going to ask me this.
Oh, it's such a good question, because it's so amazing.
It throws, because it's like saying who's your favourite child, and I don't have kids. But okay, I've got 2 dogs. It's like saying who's my favourite dog. Everybody knows it's a bit Leo. He's the biggest soft spot, but Lila is all right too. I can't be specific, Dawn. That's the issue, because I literally was thinking about it last night and thinking, what would I say? Because I know she's going to ask it. I know it's like, the last time she asked me what was I liking about what's the most I've got out of pro members, and I would say I think it's more not just the content of it, but actually the philosophy of what it brings and how it allows you to become yourself in your own business and to understand the people that you're talking to understand yourself in that conversation, to understand where you need to position yourself and where you're coming from, that allows you and allows other people rather to really kind of understand who you are. And I think that's probably, rather than a content element, it was more that kind of liberating moment at the end of the course when I was like, and several times throughout it when I was like, oh yeah, it's like my group, I'd only just started my group, through audience attraction. I then changed the focus of it. I feel like I need to do that again, or close the group and start another one. I'm kind of in two minds about that at the moment. But I think it was, if anything, it was more what the whole elements of it did for me, which was allowed me to, through all the components of it, to say who I am on social media and via social media and via my website and via, and even in the room with people. The way I describe myself now is very different to how I described myself, 13, 14 months ago.
Yeah.
And the way I describe my business. So I'd say that's why I can't be specific, because I think it's all of the elements brought together that made that happen.
Yeah. And that, essentially that is the difference between audience attraction and your other social media courses that are out there, is that that's balance between brand expertise, brand awareness, the theory of aesthetics when it comes to how you're communicating through your images, psychological selling in terms of, which is slightly different for you. I know that part is slightly different for your niche, but about language and how you're presenting yourself and positioning yourself so that you are always in that element of strategy and nothing's left to chance, and there's direction throughout everything. And then the social media, which is a bit like the people come for the social media and they get all the stuff they didn't know they needed that supports the social media, the tech and the features and the things that you can do. But I love that. And it's so easy to say to somebody, oh, just go on Facebook and be yourself. But there are actual 100 tiny little details that go into that one thing, not only being comfortable for you to do, but also for it actually working for your people.
Yeah, because they need to know that they can reach you and that you understand. And certainly from my point of view, we talk about pain points. Well, mine, are true pain points in terms of people are emotionally and psychologically traumatized usually. There's a real, traumatic element to it. And, that's why I say there's a sensitivity in the messages of mine that doesn't trigger people.
Yes.
It says, I'm here for you, but I'm not going to trigger you, Here's what you need to know about how you can get me. Here's what you need to know about how you can, respond to that pain right now.
Yes.
But the one thing that I'm always cautious about on social media is triggering people.
You're like a gentle attraction.
I am.
But I would probably say that a lot of the teachings throughout the course allow a slightly more relaxed, and that's why I called the challenge Relax and Retract.
Attract,
Yeah, because the whole sentiment behind it is that, especially in the marketing world as a whole, there is this real kind of dog eat dog, aggressive, you must go out there, always be selling, get out there, do this thing. And actually, there is a beautiful way in which it also almost embodies the if you build it, they will come idea. Where it's not about sitting back, it's not about being passive, it is about taking action in your business. But you can do that in a way that is authentic, you can do it in a way that is aligned with how you feel, and you don't have to apply all of these smarmy sales techniques in order to achieve that level of connection with your next potential client.
Yeah, that's true. And you're right. I do approach it more gently. It's gently attract, because I couldn't, it wouldn't sit comfortably with me if I was aggressive with it,
No.
And kind of in people's faces with it. I'd kind of feel as though, the fact that, somebody contacted me, as a potential client tells me I'm getting it right. Whether I took them on or not is neither here nor there. In some respects, it's the fact that they reached out and felt that they could based on my content.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. So that lady on Instagram, but then there was a lady in my group, and kind of all intertwined. That and I have started to go live on my Facebook page more. Kind of try and do a Wednesday live. But haven't quite got the timing of that right, because I can't get my head around the business suite, which is the other reason. Because
that's one of the additions to this year's training. Don't you worry. In just a few weeks, I will be taking you all the way through business suite and creator suite. I'll show you all of those brilliant back of house areas, my darling. So you won't have to worry about any of that. But I asked this of Emma yesterday, so I'm going to ask you so that I'm consistent with my questions. What do you think your business would be like now had you not taken the leap this time last March? That's kind of what Emma did too. It's a hard question, that one, right?
It is. I think I would have spent a lot of money trying to learn stuff and not implementing it for a start. There would be the shiny object syndrome. I try to steer very clear of that, because people try to sell to me all the time. It comes into my DMs, into Instagram, and into my inbox and in my emails. There's constant kind of selling to me. And had I not done this last year and been in your group, I think I probably would have gone, oh yeah, just reach for anything that might help me, and then, oh, hang on, I'm skint. It's like, I've got no money and I've had one client in 12 months. That's kind of probably where I'd be, and probably would have given up. If that were the case, I probably would have stopped and thought, okay, I'll invest my money then in the coffee shop. But I think, let's be honest, that if I'd only had one client in a year and spent all my money on courses that didn't work, because I was expecting them to do everything for me, then I'd probably have failed, and be wondering why, without taking a look at myself. What audience attraction does is it actually makes you look at yourself too.
Yes.
And it asks you to look at yourself in your business and what you're saying and what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's worked for me this year, amongst other strategies. But it's worked for me this year and catapulted my business way bigger than I had expected it to.
Which is lovely. When we spoke about your success before Christmas, you kind of you shocked me a bit, because I knew you were doing well, but I didn't realize you were doing as well as you were doing. And you landed that bombshell on me live, if I remember correctly, just in an instant, just like this. And that for me is just amazing. And the fact that I really, really enjoyed, and I'm so grateful that you joined us last year. And I really, really enjoyed having you on the course. And you challenged me as well, which was fantastic, because oftentimes we've worked in hundreds of niches, but it is one of those situations where in your particular niche, I could have worked with lots of different health professionals. I could have worked with mental health experts. I could have worked with therapists, but it would not have been the same as working with you. It was very bespoke. It was very unique. And what was great about that was that together we still found the right way.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. To apply all of the learnings and make them specific so that they would work for you, and more importantly for your people. And yeah. it was just a lovely thing. And I'm so glad that you're coming on again this time. I'm extremely excited. Every time, I've been talking to people all day today about the course, and people have signed up today, and I can't wait to celebrate. But it's just one of those situations whereby I am so excited this time, because I know how wonderful last year was. And like I said, I was telling everybody last year that it was the most amazing course out there. And now this year, we've bolted even more on top of it. It's actually a bit scary to me what it might look like next year.
Yeah. World domination, Geordie, world domination. And I think the fact that you have people like me, and I know there's other people that did it last year.
Yeah.
Coming back in. I know there's pro members that are doing it. We get content from you all. We get training from you. But we're still willing to say we need this, and notice that we need it, and say, let's get in there, let's do it.
And that's the hardest thing sometimes, isn't it? Like, a lot of the people that I speak to know that they need it. They agree that they are completely dedicated to the business being successful. They know exactly where they want to be in 12 months' time, and that often includes a full group of engaged potential clients and/or lots of followers on Facebook and Instagram that they can reach out to and talk to and communicate with, and are often looking to launch within 12 to 24 months. But then when it comes to actually investing in themselves, that's the step there. I need to be on that side of the wall. But in order for me to actually put that energy into me, with that same amount of energy we would probably find quite easily to putting into something else when it's not to do with us, when it's not development of ourselves. And that's why I celebrate every single time somebody does that and joins us, because I feel like it's massive. And I feel like, as women in particular, we are really crap at investing in
ourselves. And to invest in ourselves soundly, rather than, like I said, with chasing the shiny object, kind of fear of missing out, of, oh gosh, that looks great, but actually investing in ourselves with clarity, and being able to sit and think rationally with a perspective on ourselves and our business, and say, that's the training that I need, because I understand where my business is, I understand where I am with it, and I understand where I need to go with it, and that's what's going to give me that, not the 300 DMs that I'm getting telling me that I can do this. And if I just invest this amount of money, I will catapult myself, and it's like, oh yeah, because that doesn't work, because that's not bespoke. It's not you then in your business doing what you need to do. So investing in yourself with clarity of your business, clarity of where you are within it, clarity of who it is that you're wanting to talk to, and who it is that you're wanting to attract. This course is everything for that, And as well as I do, that I posted in the group, I think after the first week in January, and said, my big win the first couple of weeks of January was that I had made in those 2 weeks what I earned in 2019. And it's like, that's then you say, right, where do I go from there? And that's when I sat and wrote a 20-year strategy plan, which undoubtedly will change a little bit, Honestly, the vision at the end of that 20 years is fantastic, by the way. but you have to, you have to sit with that and say, right, I've done that. Where do I want to go from here? Where's the foundation? You've got to have a foundation. You've got to have some level of foundation before you can invest in something like this and say, yeah, that's absolutely for me. And you have to know where it is. You have to know where your business is, and where you're going with it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Oh, thank you very much for joining.
I could just join your team. I could just join your team now. I could shift. I could shift profession.
Well, I mean, this is professional standard training. So what's always really funny about this is that we have, and I said this to somebody earlier, one of my beautiful clients that I had a one-to-one with earlier. We have had previous people come and buy this course and come on it anonymously, and sometimes jump on the calls with no camera on. Occasionally they'll buy it and they'll only watch on rewatch, and that's because they're social media managers and they want to learn, but they don't want people to know that I'm the one that's taught them, because they don't want people to frog them and come, because obviously the agency, we still have social media management, we still cover those services, and I get that, and I've always allowed those people on because it is professional standard training. So if I can help another woman make money in her business at home, around her life, whatever that may look like, dogs, kids, parents, whatever, then I'm going to do that, especially considering it's very likely that that woman is doing social media right for another woman who's in business. I mean, I want to impact people positively, right? How better is that to be able to do that? So yes, once you've done this round of audience attraction, you probably could join our team, join our agency, because it's professional standard training.
Then I'm in. I would change of profession, but it is. I know we've got to go, but it is actually one of the things that everybody that works with me says, that by kind of 3/4 of the way in, they turn around and they say, well, I could become a therapist now with everything that you told me, with everything that I now know about myself. And it's the similar, no, they can't, but it's a similar thing that you've got. It is a professional standard that you teach to, and that's why it's different to other things that are shiny objects, and the guaranteed 12-figure sum that you'll get at the end of just doing this course.
Take this magic pill and
take this magic pill and it'll all work out all right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I do appreciate the shiny object syndrome. And you know what? There were a couple of people who were truly, truly interested in Pro members before Christmas, who actually messaged me and said, I'm not going to join because I know that I do that. And I have shiny object syndrome, and I want to make sure that this isn't that. And of course, nobody who is actually teaching anything worthwhile wants anyone to fall into that trap, because it's just a continuous money outage without return. Yeah. Which fortunately, there are some people out there making a living on, but it's totally out of alignment with who we are, with our level of integrity. And what's really funny is, for those of us who kind of go, okay, I understand that, I've been there myself, and no problem, you come to me when you're ready. 9 times out of 10, those people come back because they've had time to think. Yeah, I'd love to just very quickly tell you a story before we go. A couple of years ago now, my mum really wanted a group family photo. And we went to a local studio, the ones where you go and you dress similarly and you all pose against a very big white wall. And it was super cheesy. But we did it because my mum really wanted it, and it was for her 70th birthday, and it was what she wanted. Anyway, we went and we did it. And when we were invited back to look at the photographs, we were taken into this office, and there was a big projector, and we were given this great presentation. And the poor woman, she had no idea who she was dealing with, because my dad was a very charming man. He was a salesperson through and through, and obviously you've got me, team marketeer, that knows all the psychological selling techniques that there are to offer. And then there was like, you know, my mum and my two sisters, and we're all very strong women. I mean, the guys didn't even get a look in to say a word, but we're all really, really strong women. And this woman, she showed us these photographs, which were, you know, some of them were lovely, some of them not so much. And she was really pushing in a very, very old kind of salesman type way. And she actually made a massive, massive mistake, a real ultimate failure, in suggesting that if we walked away without buying anything, we would not be able to buy those images. You have to decide now, almost like a kidnapping. You know, here's what here's the price, make your decision now. And the desperation that came out of her, oh, it just seeped from her pores, absolute desperation. And my oldest sister, Gillian, did not appreciate it one bit. She really lost herself, and gave this woman a good old speaking to. And you know, it was just a situation where from the moment those words came out of her mouth, she was losing.
She was losing. Yeah.
We walked away after much negotiation and polite negotiation, which was difficult because she'd really got our backs up. We were all triggered. You know, we were all like with our girls out. And that is never a good sight, by the way. The females in my family, we're all at it. It's not a good sight at all. And in the end, we got all of the images. We got them all on a stick, on a USB stick, and I think we got it for like 25% of the price that she'd. And literally by the end of it, she was giving us whatever she could to get us out of that room.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself in that moment that it's such a shame, because had she have played that differently, we are still humans. And we still react, you know, to connection in different ways. Had she have played that differently, she probably would have got a much more fruitful and easy result. But the main lacking was just the understanding of how to present your offer to another human. And that is something that if you've not been taught, how are you supposed to know?
You're going to go with Yeah. I could just imagine you all triggered.
It was not pretty, Helen. It wasn't pretty. We're all those types as well, that when we get all het up, we're kind of like, you know, you can tell we get all patchy on our chests. And
do you get the flush? Yeah.
All flush.
You can see.
Sometimes we're the frustration criers as well. I don't know if there's a band of thieves we can join. Frustrated crying. We'll be screaming at you and crying simultaneously, you know, while giving you a turn off. And what's funny is out of all of us, we're actually learning together as a family to be much more emotionally regulated. But there are certain things that really get our back up, and that particular type of technique, straight to Mount Everest that took us.
Just like lighting a match.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. So, I mean, if there is nothing else in this world, I want to give people who have a genuine good offer, that have something that is of worth that people want, the tools, so they don't ever accidentally fall into that trap and do themselves out of good, honest business.
Exactly. And that's all that you're wanting to do, and all people should do, is think about the way that they sell. not to trigger people into frustrated crying and everything.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
It's been really wonderful, and I really appreciate the time that you've taken it out today. I'm conscious that you have other clients, so I'm going to cut it short before we go.
Finish at 9 tonight, I think. Yeah. So I'm back now until 9. So yeah, I'll get to eat at some point.
It's so difficult having so many clients.
I know, it's a good thing to say, though. It's a good thing to say. I'll never not enjoy saying it, I don't think. Yeah. But thank you for having me. It's been lovely. And I hope it's been helpful for people to make decisions about what they want to do and whether it's the right training for them at this time. And if it is, jump on quickly, guys. It'll make a massive difference. Massive difference. I'm so excited. I was looking at the email, go, okay, when do we start? Is it tomorrow?
22nd of March. Well, the week commencing the 22nd of March. Yeah. But yes, I know it's very exciting. Lots of people are messaging me saying like, maybe we could start next week. We can't start any earlier. It has to be that the schedule won't allow it. But it's going to be an amazing time, and I'm really looking forward to it.
It is. I'm looking forward to it too. I'm looking forward to seeing where it takes me again this year. And
then we can do this interview again this time next year. And
yeah, absolutely. Constant. I'm with you. I told you, Dawn, I'm with you for life now.
You guys have totally coined a new phrase, which I never expected, and I can't remember which one of you it was, but you are lifers.
Lifers, yeah.
So, I mean, I'll take that. You're welcome with me all the time, but it's just it's so good. But yes, I'm going to head off now, and thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, and I hope it's been helpful.
I'm sure it will be, yeah, and there'll be lots of people that watch on replay, and if you are watching on replay, give us a hashtag replay, and I'll end it there. So I'm going to do my awkward wave.
Do the awkward wave. Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye.